Okay, looks like we're here. And we are going to be building a sled today. Okay, looks like we're here. And we are going to be building a sled today. That's right, here's the machine. Let's see here. Okay, looks like we're here. Let's get this all going. Building a sled today. That's right, here's the machine. Let's see here. Okay, looks like we're here. Let's get this all going. That's right, here's the machine. Let's see here. Okay, looks like we're here. Let's get this all going. That's right, here's the machine. Let's see here. Okay, looks like we're here. Let's get this all going. Alrighty. Got the coffee going. What have we done so far? Switched over the zip tie that I talked about on my Instagram recently. I've almost finished up the clutch stuff. Still need to do the float on the secondary, but I'm waiting for some washers. And then we're gonna install the can here soon. And we're also going to do like a full service on the sled. Some other cool stuff like that, you know? So we're gonna be here for a little while today. It's gonna be a good time. It's gonna be a good time. Almost finished up the clutch stuff. Still need to do the float on the secondary, but I'm waiting for some washers. And then we're gonna install the can here. Cool. Let's get started. Let's do a little cleaning up here. Cleaning up. And if anybody's got any questions, go ahead and hit them in the group chat and I will reply. These are our alignment washers right here. Excuse me. Well, yeah, these are for the alignment kind of. I need some more ones for the float. I'm all out of the ones for the float. These are the ones for the float. These are for like a edge chassis. One of the non-splined secondaries, the ones with like the keyway. That's what those are for. We don't need those. That one looks like brand new. So we'll put all this stuff back here in the clutch box. This stuff away. I think I got enough springs. I might have a few springs here. The guy's been known to go through some springs. These are like old used ones. Let's see, this is off a 23.9R. This one. XCSP. We don't need those where we're going. No, we don't. What's up, everybody watching in the room? Where are you guys watching from? What kind of snowmobiles do you got? Today, we're building this 9R here. Right now I'm just doing a little bit of you got a little look here at my clutch drawer. Which is one of my favorite drawers. Oh, we're just getting a little full on her these days. Your boy really is ready for an upgrade on the toolbox here. I think I've stretched these little entry-level Craftsman to the limit. It's done great. It's done absolutely great, you know, and I've got no complaints with it. But I'm about out of space. That's my complaint. Okay. Let's take a look at our work notes here. Where's everybody watching from? Can anyone comment in here? Are you watching from? Let's take a look at my notes. It's time to install the can. Well, we want to drill those holes. So when I installed the twins a few years ago, they have you put two nice big holes down here in the plastic, and I'm kind of a fan. It lets in a little bit of air down there and doesn't really let in any snow. So I'm gonna go ahead and do that again on this year's build. But the first thing we gotta do is get these springs out of here. These are some nice springs. I don't know if these are new springs that Polaris is using, but they feel a little tougher. I'm gonna venture out on a ledge and say they feel a little stronger than they have in the past. Honestly, I think Polaris with these matrix sleds have been stepping up their game a lot every year. The sleds just get better and better. So does the durability on everything. I really do believe they're making the best sleds that they've ever made. And they are honestly a blast. A blast to ride. One of the funnest machines. And I've had very few issues. Very few issues. Some of the issues have been my fault. Like when I melted my exhaust valve actuator because I didn't wrap it in heat tape. When I put on the twin pipes, even though the instructions said to. So that one's on me. That one is on me. I did have the exhaust valve cable snap on me the other year. That was not my fault. But it's a cheap part. The replacement's not too bad. I mean, you know, they warrantied it, obviously. And I tossed it in because I didn't want to wait for the dealership to do it, which is no big deal. Okie dokie. I think this silencer is ready to come out. Let's see if we can get it. There we go. Come on up, my friend. Oh yeah. Anyone else impressed with how lightweight these cans have gotten over the years? They used to be so heavy. And don't get me wrong, there's still some weight savings to be had, but compared to how they used to be, holy cow, they've gotten really good. They've gotten really good at making them all pretty light. So yeah, if you guys have got any questions on what I'm doing, go ahead and drop it down in the live chat. It looks like they're putting a little bit of glue on underneath here these days. Maybe an effort to try to keep these on there, because, you know, classic, would see that all the time in the shop. People forget to put these back on when they do a can swap or a silencer swap, whatever you want to call it. And yeah, rookie mistake. Those gotta stay on there. They live right up in here. Yep. All right. Let's get this pipe out of here, and then we'll put those holes in there. We'll come in from this side. One. Come on now. Come on. There it is. Oh, wow. Oh, wow. That's how you do it. And then this bottom one. Boom. Yeah, these are what they... Check them out. See, they got these gray ones are the ones I'm used to seeing, and then these gold ones. Maybe they've done it the last couple of years and I haven't noticed. Maybe they're new. Maybe I'm just forgetting. You know, there's a lot that goes on in my head throughout the season, and I can't remember everything. Sometimes you got to make way for new information. Getting rid of old information. see if we can get this. There we go. EGT sensor to disconnect. Pop the zip tie off the EGT sensor there. We'll slide out this here pipe. Crazy how light they've gotten these pipes also. Like if it didn't have the heat shield on it, this thing would be just as light as any aftermarket offering out there for your expansion pipes. Just clean up these springs a little bit. Whoa. All right. Let's see here. Let's take another picture. Where this is when we'll get on the post here. Okay. Doki. Well, that one's a good enough picture, I guess. Step bit. Let's go with step bit. My boots, they're starting to come apart. I've had them for a while, but they're getting a little tired. And honestly, for the price, I thought they would last a little bit longer. They're like maybe a year and a half old now, maybe. I think so. Bought them for Frosty's wedding. Let's just get in here and clean up a little bit of this oil. You know, they spit a lot of oil during break-in. A lot of oil. And sometimes a little bit extra comes out the bottom of the pipe. And it's nice to keep it clean. It's nice to keep it clean. Should we be doing like a giveaway or something while we're live, you know? Like, should I have like I've got some stickers I could be giving away. I think I even got a few t-shirts left. I know I've got some like old parts and stuff. Would anybody be interested in some old parts or a t-shirt or some stickers? You know, something like that. While we all hang out here and build some snowmobiles. Okay, that looks way better. Way better. All right. And then this foam's got to go. This is all the foam that was in a client sled that I worked on. We're going to do a cool video of weighing this and then getting it wet and weighing it and showing how much weight this foam will hold in your machine. And it's essentially, you know, a free weight loss. Because if you've got the foam in here and you're riding around and it's, you know, 20, 30 pounds of extra weight, well, when you take the foam out, that doesn't happen. So there's no weight loss that you'll really experience from just taking out the foam itself. But when the foam gets wet, So when you're actually riding the machine, that's where you're going to experience some of that weight savings. And the glue is gross. It's nasty and excuse me. You know, it's not the prettiest thing to look down in here and you just see all this leftover glue and all that. You know, I don't really have a good way that I know of to get all this leftover little glue out of there. Not that it, you know, it doesn't matter if you leave it. You got all the main bulk of the foam out, and sure, the glue might hold a couple little pine needles or something, but it ain't gonna hurt you. All I'm trying to do right now is just get that last little bit of foam that's built up off of there, and then in a minute we'll come back with the shop vac and we'll get off as much as we can. Right now, this is working pretty good. Rubbing this down. If there's anyone who wants to chat on the live chat, got questions or anything, type them in there. Whoever decides to make the first comment, I will send them a sticker. I'll send you a sticker pack. Some feeder country stuff. Okay. I think this is going to be about the end of this side. Because right now, we're just getting real nitty picky. With that leftover glue, but the OCD in me a little bit wants to get out as much as I can. I wish there was, you know, some chemical you could just spray on there and let it sit, and then it would just wipe right up, but that's never been the case that I've found. If you know of something, let me know in the comments. I would be stoked. And like I said, if you're just tuning in, we're out here building the 25 9R right now. If you guys hang out, you're gonna get to see a bunch of little tips and tricks and secret stuff that I do. I've learned from over the years. All right, let's get this thing up in the air. I think I'm tired of bending over. One thing that's pretty crazy is how light when you go to pick up the rear of the sled right there like that compared to the turbo. Dude, the 9R really is a little lightweight, hard enduro machine. It is pretty freaking cool. Okay. Let's try to get this foam out of the other side here. Yeah, like I was saying, this foam, when it gets wet, it retains so much water weight. It's crazy. We're gonna do a little test later where we weigh the dry foam and then weigh the wet foam and show you how much weight you're adding to your sled when you go ride it in the powder and you don't take out this foam. And you know, the OEs, they gotta put this foam in here for sound dampening and for all the lovely laws that they have to follow when they're creating these awesome machines. And you know what we do with them once we buy them is our business, and we're not required to make them pass all these rigorous things, at least out west. So we're just going to spend a moment here and get the rest of this foam out of there. You see, I'm using my fingers here, and I'm doing a combination of things. I'm getting rid of the leftover glue, like right here, where I'm like balling it up on each other. But then also there's spots like up here where there's a little bit of foam left. You can just run your thumb over it and start to get some of the foam to come off. Excuse me, I gotta woo, blow my nose real quick. All right, that's better. So yeah, I use my thumb and I can bust up some of that extra foam. Oh yeah. The OCD's getting me. The OCD is getting me right now. Cause there ain't nothing. Nothing as nice as some clean black plastic. But yeah, I'm getting the foam out of here because it holds a lot of water weight when you're actually riding the sled. Now this little glue doesn't matter that I'm trying to get off right now. This is just me going the extra mile. You know, you don't need to sit here and try to get out the glue. And a lot of times in the past I haven't, but it's coming up pretty easy right now, so I'm kind of just sending it in the zone. It looks like some guys have been out riding, I've seen some guys on the trails and stuff getting a little bit of, you know, some break-in miles in, stuff like that. I don't get as excited. Oh, we got someone tuned in here. I work on a water softener install. Oh, nice, nice, nice. What up, man? Hell yeah. Where are you watching from? Gugon. Gugon's kind of oily. And I've tried it before on this stuff. And this glue is really just, it works best if you just rub it over on itself like this with your thumb. It really just comes up. I've got all sorts of stuff. Gooby Gone, 3M adhesive remover. I tried a lot of stuff over the years. For 1 year I took off a wrap to put on another one. Oh boy, that is not a fun process of trying to get that glue off the machine to put on the new wrap. I would never, ever, ever take off a wrap to put on another one, but that's just me. I mean, if you don't really care, if you're not as OCD, you know, and you could just be like, ah, whatever, I'm sure it wouldn't be too bad. But yeah, we're gonna get through this here real quick, and then we're gonna drill some holes. I'll show you where, and that's gonna a little bit of extra airflow in underneath here to try to help just with the heat soaking that happens. This is something I did when it's actually recommended on the SLP instructions for the twin pipes, and I've been doing it on my sleds ever since. I thought it was pretty slick little idea, you know, and it doesn't really introduce any snow into the belly pan area, which was always something to consider when you're putting holes in your belly pan. Are you gonna then allow snow to get in here, which would be less than ideal? You don't really want snow down in here because snow melts and it adds moisture, and now you've got a lot of moist hot air in here. You get moisture on your belts, which is terrible. Great way to smoke a belt. Let's get a little moisture on it. Oh, nice. We've got some more people chatting. San Jose, California, dude, right on. Not too far away. I'm over here in Reno, Nevada. Nice deal. What kind of sleds you got? And then we got Def MC1. I have a Venom Helix on my 20 Chaos. I will be putting the same setup hopefully on my new 9R next year. So the 850 Helix and the 9R Helix are different. I would double check before you just go slapping it on there. How do you like that 20 Chaos? What kind of sled you got there, 77 Zach? What kind of sleds you got? What kind of sleds do y'all have? And where are you guys watching from? Okay, let's get that out of there. Love this little Milwaukee vacuum. I'm so over cords. You know, I don't really actually want to get all that little glue stuck in the hose on my vacuum. So we're just gonna pick it up by hand in here. You tell me what you want to know about the 9R there, 77 Zach. This is my second 9R. I had one in 2023. It was really nice, dude. It was so snappy and so lightweight. And then last year I had a Boost, and the Boost, you know, has crazy power. But it's heavy, man. Like, it doesn't feel heavy when you have both feet on the running boards and you're riding it. But when you've got to side hill it wrong foot forward through really steep terrain for a while, you can really start to feel the weight on the turbo and everything else. And the 9R, you don't really ever feel the weight. It's like the perfect sled for like hard enduro style riding. All right, guys, so what we're doing here is we are going to drill 2 1-inch holes, maybe a little bigger, right here in the back side of the belly pan. What that's going to do is going to allow some airflow, some nice cold air to come in down here and start to fill up the engine, hopefully move some air through here, get some airflow, some cold air. And what's nice about doing it on the back side of the belly pan here is if you look up in here, there's really not a lot of space for snow to get up in there and start to come into the belly pan. When I've done this in the past, on the twin pipe setup I had, it didn't allow any snow to come in. So it's a great way to get some cold air into the machine and not get any snow in. Normally you'd have to like drill a hole out here or something and then put a vent on to prevent that snow from getting in. But down here, we don't have to do that. Since it's kind of, the snow comes and it's on the back side, it doesn't come up around in. So I'm gonna go ahead and put a little mark here where I want to drill. I think that right there looks good to me. And we got our little step here. We're gonna go for like the 1 inch to start. And here we go. Don't want to come down here and hit the chassis at all. We've got plenty of space still, so let's go another. Go 1 rung. We still got some space. Let's go another. All right, there we are at that 1 inch hole. Yeah, we're down to 1 inch. We've still got a smidge there, about a finger length behind, so we'll go 1 more step. There we go. And that brings us to the 1 1/8 inch hole. I don't think we can go any deeper before we start to hit the chassis. Yeah, I'm gonna hit the chassis right there. So 1 1/8 hole right there is perfect. Like I said, if you guys are just joining us right now, we're doing this. It's gonna allow some extra airflow in here. And since it's on the back side of the belly pan, it doesn't let any snow in. So you don't really need to put a frog skin or anything back here. We're gonna put another one in here on this side. And it's just gonna encourage a little bit of cool airflow to come in here and help alleviate some of the heat soaking that can happen. All right, now we will use the vacuum. And vacuum up some of that before we drill the other side in. And we'll clean up our little mess down here. Perfect. All right, and then we already ripped out the foam here. As we were talking about, that foam can really add a lot of weight to your machine. Later, once we get all the foam out, we're gonna go outside, we're gonna weigh the foam, and then we're gonna get the foam wet and see how much extra weight you're adding onto your machine when you ride around with all this wet foam in there. So we got that foam out. Now we're gonna add another 1.1/8 hole right over here on this side, trying to encourage some of that cool air to come floating in there where you see my finger. And since it's on the back side of the belly pan here, the snow won't be able to get up in there. We do have some more questions over here. Let's see what we got going on. 77 Zach, he's got a 91 Indy 500, a 93 440 SKS from northern Minnesota. Right on, man. I've got a 25 boost over here. And then let's pop the cover off on this thing just so you guys can get a little look at this. Over there's a Yamaha Bravo 1987. It's got an extended track on it, short tunnel cut, bigger lug track. It's basically a, we've turned it into like a pit bike of snowmobiles. There you go. And then this is my 440. Runs on 110, 2005 IQR, some of y'all call them. The motor that I'm working on here is a 9R, a 2025 900cc 9R. Def MC1 says he's got a 2020 800 155 Chaos. Salt Lake City, Utah. 9R will be totally new. 2020 will be just a friend sled. Very nice. Very nice. You're gonna like the 9R, dude. It's a healthy upstep from an 800 especially. They're super torquey, super snappy. And it's like the perfect hard enduro sled. You know, if you're the kind of guy who wants to, you get yourself in situations where you like only have like one sled length to make a move, this thing really shines. If you get in situations where you're just wrong foot forward and really holding up the machine and you're feeling all the weight, the 9R shines. I'm really excited to have both the 9R and the turbo this year to be trying them out. It's gonna be really cool to be able to hop between the two different ones, you know, and try it out. Brilliant idea. Drill vent holes. This is super neat to get some ideas for my 9R over in Idaho. I'm assuming Idaho is Idaho. I love going up to Idaho. Idaho is a blast to go ride. And yeah, these vent holes, this is out of the SLP instruction manual. This is what they recommend you do on the twin pipe setup because it creates a lot of heat. It helps promote some airflow through the machine. And you know, when you're riding on the deep snow, you do get a lot of heat that builds up in these. Unlike, you know, you Midwest guys, where you ride in the cold weather and you're riding on the trail and you have all that airflow that's coming in, us guys in the mountains, we have a hard time getting the hot air out of the engine bay here. We are notorious for heat soaking motors, heat soaking belts, heat soaking everything underneath here. So getting extra airflow for us guys who ride in the deep snow is super big. 77 Zach is right. If you were a East Coast guy and only rode trails, you would want to keep your pipes hot. You can get them too cold. Although even a lot of the trail sleds, especially the old ones, anytime you're riding in above 32 degrees or so, they recommend you start opening all these vents and portals on your sled to get extra airflow in. Like the Bravo's got it, the IQR's got it. So, you know, out west, true out west, not in the Rocky Mountains, but where I live here in Reno, Nevada, we are riding 20 to 40 degree weather a lot. So our stuff gets really heat soaked, especially when all that snow is in here covering it up. So let's get back to drilling these holes. If you guys got some more questions, comments, let me know. Tell me where you guys are watching from. Tell me what sleds you got. I'll tell you about my sleds and we'll have a good time. So we're getting back here. Gonna go ahead and drill another hole down in this belly pan, trying to promote some airflow through here to prevent some heat soaking from happening. Let's start about here. There we go. And we're gonna go ahead and start with this next hole. Whoa. All right, now as you're doing this, you want to constantly be coming back here and looking so you don't run into your bulkhead and start drilling into your bulkhead. That would be a really, really dumb thing to do. I still got some space here. We'll go down one more thread, or one more step. And then let's take a look, see where we're at. We got down to the 1 inch on this side. We went to a 1 1/8 inch on the other side. Let's see if we can get down to match that. We got some space. We're getting close. I still can fit a finger behind, so we're gonna go one more step. There we go. Let's see where we're at. Yep, down to 1 1/8 inches. And there we go. Now we've got our 2 holes down here in the belly pan, and that's going to help promote a little more airflow, because when you're riding that deep powder, these motors in the bay, your belt, everything gets so heat soaked, so heat soaked. You know, a lot of times when I stop, I'll pop my side covers right away to help let some of that hot air get out of there, and you'll just see it's just steam and steam and steam, and so much steam will come out from underneath here when you stop. And these little holes are going to help promote with some of that airflow. And like I said before, you really want to be careful when you're doing this. You don't want to drill into your actual metal bulkhead. That would be dumb. And you would definitely lose some of the strength. All right, let's get that vacuumed up. It'd be cool if I didn't just, you know, yank this apart, but luckily they screw in super easily. While I'm screwing it in, let's see what we got over here. Hopper wants to know, have you made any ECU or tuning changes to your 9R? How drastically is an improvement is your clutching setup? The ECU, I'm running stock fuel mapping. If I go to a Rimshaw race again this year, I'll definitely have them put the race tune on it. I had them put the race tune on my 850 that I raced last year in Rimshaw, and wow, it felt like it added like 20 horsepower. Like, it felt like when I put twin pipes on my 850, it felt like a really large hop in power. For clutching on this thing, I've got SLP clutching set up. I've been running the SLP stuff for a number of years. I like it because it's super easy to make the weight adjustment changes. You just put different set screws through the top of the weight. You don't have to mess around with magnets or taking out the weights to actually like change a whole weight like you would with Polaris or anything like that. So if I'm like really going up in a lot of elevation, I can make a change quickly. Or if the snow condition changes and I'm a little under on RPM, I can make a weight change really easily. The ease of adjustment is my biggest selling factor with the SLP clutching stuff. It's also a nice performance increase. But yeah, having the ability to adjust on hill is huge for me because I'm an RPM Nazi. I watch my RPMs more than most, and as soon as they start going a little low, I like to make a clutching change to keep them where I want it. All right, we've got the foam out. We've got our 2 extra ports drilled here to hopefully increase the cold air intake. Since they're on the back side of the belly pan here, it doesn't really let snow in. I got this from when I installed my twin pipe setup. They recommended doing this, and I've done it on all my sleds since. Turbo weight is something I'm not into. Long days are better with minimum weight. Just really exists if the new Matrix is a significant improvement on the Axis chassis wise. The Matrix blows the Axis chassis out of the water. I was shocked. I had a 22 Matrix, and they look similar-ish, when they're side by side. And I was like, what is really going to be the difference between the Matrix and the Axis? I don't know what exactly they've done to make this happen. The Matrix is leagues ahead of the Axis. The biggest thing I notice is with the Matrix, I can side hill in the neutral position, so both feet on the running boards. The Axis, I had to side hill with wrong foot forward. There's a lot of places where before on the Axis I had to wrong foot forward through, where on the Matrix I can just stand on it with 2 feet. The Matrix is a lot easier to ride for me. That neutral position allows you to save more energy, and it definitely makes the sled feel lighter because you're not having to hold it up, you're just counter steering. So yes, the Matrix, in my mind, if you've got the money, definitely sell your Axis and go get a Matrix. Yeah, I agree with the comment about the long days and the weight. The turbo feels heavy as the day goes on, especially if you're in like hard enduro terrain. So that's why I have the 9R, is because when I ride with like my buddy Chris or some other guys and we want to just ride the kind of terrain where you have to wrong foot forward like all day long, the 9R shines, dude. That's the machine for it. The days when it's super deep and you can ride with 2 feet on the sled, the boost shines. There's nothing that's going to beat the boost on a 3 feet or deeper day. So this is kind of my 2.5 foot or deeper or shallower day sled. My sled when I want to jump creeks. My sled when I want to wrong foot forward all day. That's my big power sled for when it's deeper than 3 feet. I want to stand in the neutral position all day. That's that sled. Yeah. So now we've got the foam out. We've got the holes drilled. I think it's time to put the pipe back in, and then we're going to start to install my silencer from SLP. So let's go ahead and grab the pipe. And while I put the pipe in, we'll see if we've got any more questions. What RPM do you feel is the best on the 9R? in the mountains. On the dyno, we see peak power from 81 to 83. I really like 83 to 84. 8350 is really nice for me. I agree that I've seen a lot of the dyno stuff in that 81 to 83. Seat of my pants in powder on a climb. 81 just feels a little doggy. Like you're just like, come on, I know it's got more. That 83 is really the sweet spot for seat of your pants. For what it feels like when you're riding the machine. And like I said, I wouldn't be upset at 8350 because if you hit some sort of snow and it pulls your RPM down, it's nice to have the little extra rip'ems. Good question though, good question. If we've got some other questions, let them rip. Tater or chip. We are cruising right along with the build. Gonna put this pipe back in, and we're gonna start working on the silencer. I've also been really impressed with the routing of everything that Polaris has done. You know, where in the past some wires and stuff would just hang, and now everything's zip tied in. Everything has a home, everything has a place where it lives. I think it's a really well thought out cable routing, wire routing. There's only one spot I think that they could do differently, and I've talked about that on my Instagram posts and stuff, and that's this zip tie right here. The head from the factory is up here, and it can rub into the exhaust valve cable, exhaust valve actuator cable. This is the exhaust valve actuator power cable and control cable, and then this is the actual cable that pushes and pulls the valves. So this zip tie right here from the factory is on the other side, and it can rub into it. So I just cut it and flip the zip tie around so the head's down here, then it won't rub. But like I was saying, they've thought out the routing of everything really well, in my opinion. I've owned every single RMK chassis that's ever been made, from the Wedge to the Gen 2 to the Edge to the IQ, also known as the Dragon. The Pro Ride chassis, I bought my first brand new sled in 2012. Then I bought an Axis chassis in 2016, Axis 2021. And then I've had the 22, 23, 24, and 25 Matrix sleds. It's been really neat to watch Polaris grow every year with their layout on the cable routing and everything else. I think they step up their game every year. It makes being a consumer really nice and enjoyable. So we'll go ahead and hook up this pipe again. The springs, like I was saying, they feel a little different than other years. They feel really nice. They feel pretty beefy. I'll come in from the top. There we go. You know, something I've seen some guys do, and I've done it in the past too, is they'll take some RTV and then put it over these springs. So if the spring breaks, it doesn't go shooting all around your meshing. I've done it once, I think, before. As you can see here, I'm not doing it. A lot of times I don't. But that is something that you could. People do, and you can do it. And there's, you know, nothing wrong with it. Okay. Let's dig into this can. And I just saw those washers in there that go underneath the pipe. So we're gonna have to take the pipe back off again. I forgot about that. Whoops. I forgot about that part. All right. So while we're over here, hey, let's see if my new tool works that I got. I got this for cars. No, that's not gonna work for the sleds. So we'll just go back to the old fashioned. If someone's got a nice little tool for getting these out, I'm to the point where I'd buy it. I would buy it. I've used the screwdriver for so many years, and it's been good. It's, you know, you don't gotta go buy a new tool, but I'm to the point now where I would go buy that tool. So if you've got a recommendation on one that would work well. Oh, the T40 is already in play. Yeah, good tool for popping out these little plastic rivets. I would buy it. Yes, I would. Wow, that one sounded like it had some... like it was a little hard to come out. Interesting. We'll have to pay attention to that one. But yeah, so we've got more foam in here. You know, I hate the foam. I hate it. It just holds so much moisture in. And we're gonna do the weight later. This is all the foam that came out of a client sled that I worked on. We're gonna weigh this foam later dry and then weigh it again wet and show you how much weight gets added to the machine when you go drive it around in powder. And you get all that moisture in here. It fills up and sticks to the foam. So that foam in the front, that light gray foam, super easy to take out. This dark gray foam, man, this stuff's the devil. This stuff is nasty. This stuff you got to kind of take your time with and work it, because whatever you miss, you're not going to really get up too well. You want to take your time with the dark gray foam. Take your time with it, because these chunks that get left, you're gonna spend forever trying to get them out, and it's just not worth it. So just do it right the first time. Work your way around it. It's a good workout for your hands though, especially for your fingers. Get in here. Get underneath it. Oh yeah. See if you can get underneath it like this. That's ideal. But it doesn't always let you do that. So yeah, today we're working on this 9R sled, doing everything that I do whenever I get a new machine every year, and I want to, you know, a lot of it's little free stuff that you can do to get the best performance out of the sled. I love free things that you can do, and also just making sure that your sled is set up correctly, you know, track tension and alignment. The alignment, they don't come really perfectly aligned from the factory, and if you just take your brand new sled and go start ripping it around, you can stretch the track in a funny manner, and sometimes they're a little difficult to get stretched back in the right way so that side to side the track is the same. Also, you know, throttle tension, bar alignment, cleaning your clutches before you go ride it the first time, because there's a little oily residue left on those belts when they're new to help them release from the mold that they're made in. You know, there's all sorts of stuff. So yeah, this dark gray foam, it's bad. It's hard to get out. So I got most of it out. We'll leave that and we'll continue on. Let's see here. Pro to access chassis night and day. That has been the biggest question about the new setup. 25K in diminishing returns. Can't ignore the price tag these days. Yeah, I know the sleds are getting crazy expensive, but if you look at what you're paying for, it kind of makes sense. You know, I have a 2000 RMK outside. They were $8,000 new. My turbo sled, that's 25,000. Okay, it's 3 times more expensive than that 800 RMK was. It's over 10 times more capable of a machine than that $8,000 2000 RMK 800 was. So yeah, the prices are expensive, but you're getting a lot for your money. You know, even like you buy, I think a 850, if you go get like the SP model, which doesn't have like the short tunnel and it's got like the cheaper shocks and stuff. The SP model is $16,000. For another 10 grand, you get a turbo, and it's more than double what you can do on the sled than the just stock 850. So they are expensive, but I think you're getting a lot for your money, especially if you compare it to what sleds used to cost. Like I said, my 2000 RMK 800 was 8 grand. And for 3 times the amount of money, I get 10 times more of a sled than I did back then. So they're expensive, but they're worth it. And the Matrix chassis, I think, is almost as big a night and day as the Pro to the Axis. I know it sounds a little crazy because they look a lot alike, but the Matrix is a huge step up from the Axis. What was the first sled I bought with my own money? I bought a 2004 Ski-Doo Rev 800 144 track. That was my first machine. I've owned 43 snowmobiles since then. I think 12 or 13 I've bought for myself. A bunch I got and fixed and flipped. I've ridden most of them. I've also bought and flipped some with my friends. So I've owned 43 snowmobiles in my career. That's my answer to that. And yeah, I agree. The sleds are more capable than I am as well. But they give you a chance to grow, which my 800 RMK, I think I about hit the limits on that sled. So back here behind the quick drive, we've got some more foam. It's goes around the 7S here. It's some more of that light gray foam that we found under the hood. Super easy to get out, super easy to work with. So we'll just slowly pull. There it is, there's part of it. The glue is different. The glue is like, it's doesn't stick to the sled as strong, but it's stickier than the gray stuff, on your fingers at least. So we're gonna go ahead and get out the foam that's here underneath the 7S. Oh, and it appears, would you look at that? There's actually foam behind the 7S battery. So I don't know if we'll be able to get all of it out. It looks like they stuck the foam in and then sandwiched the foam between the footwell block off and the 7S battery bracket holder. You can see right there some grayness. Working that foam out. Like I said, there's a lot of foam. This is a 5-gallon bucket full of foam I took out of a client's sled, and we're gonna weigh this later to see how much weight your machine will hold in there when you go ride it in the powder. It's pretty crazy. If you've taken off your door when it's got all that foam in there, and how heavy just the door can feel. And then the door only makes up a little percentage of the total foam in the machine, and those doors can feel like they're 15 pounds when they're dry they weigh like 2 pounds. I think we're all gonna be shocked at how much weight the foam holds when it's wet. You know, it's kind of like you ever taken your clothes out of the washing machine when they're like, you stop the washing machine before it can finish, and you take your clothes out when they're soaking wet and they're like so heavy? That's what this foam does. All right, so we got the foam out of this side. Let's start installing the can. We got any more questions? Do you do break-in miles, and how many? Yes, I do 15 miles of like pretty chilled out riding, you know, no full pins, nothing like that. After the 15 miles, I stop and I let the motor like fully cool down. Like I'll stop for like 45 minutes or so, eat some lunch, just hang out, talk, shoot the shit with some buddies. And then I will start it up, and then I will ride it exactly how I will ride it for the rest of the time I own the sled. So I will full pin it. I will, you know, full pin it for multiple seconds. Like I said, I will just ride it how I normally would. So I do 15 miles of really gingerly riding, full cool down, and then I feed her the corn, man. Give her the beans, whatever you want to call it. Sold on the 9R for next year. Not getting any younger. That's what I'm saying, man. I'm 35. I've been buying brand new sleds since I was 21. And I've never regretted any of the money that I've spent on snowmobiles. I've bought a lot of new sleds. I've bought a lot of old sleds. And they're just so much fun. I'm still not over it. And like I said, bought my first one when I was 21. I'm 35 now. I'll be 36 in April. And already thinking about the 26. Already thinking about the 26. I'm also already thinking about, you know, we're into year 4, I think, with the Matrix sleds. And traditionally, Polaris does 5 to 6 years of their sleds. Some years they've done 4, but that's been a while. So at that rate, we've got 2 or 3 more years of the Matrix left. And then we get a new chassis, which is going to be crazy to think about. Like, I don't know how they're going to improve on this. Are you just never going to have the wrong foot forward anymore? Like, I don't know what they're going to do, but they're going to be sick. They're going to be sick. They're always better every time. And I don't know how they do it. I bet they'll come out with the 9R Boost. And I don't know if it's going to be towards the end of the Matrix lifespan. You know, the last year of the Matrix, they'll come out with it to try to boost chassis sales. Or if they're gonna wait until they come out with the new chassis and then be like, new chassis and new motor. Now you definitely got to upgrade. Who knows what their marketing team and project launch team and all that are coming up with. Okay, so the first thing we gotta do when we're installing the can is we gotta put in a little bit of heat tape. One of the weight savings they do is you don't have like this huge guard and over it, and some of this, like this material is for like sound deadening, and then this is like a heat shield too. Since you get rid of a lot of that stuff or all of that to save weight, these things can get hot, so we put a little bit of heat tape in here to help prevent any of this plastic from melting. It's also another reason why we drilled those holes in there earlier, to help promote a little bit of airflow. What do we got here? You're 47 in your 8th year of sledding. Pissed you didn't start earlier. Yeah, man, I'm bummed that I didn't get to start when I was a kid. I didn't start sledding until I was 20. Like I said, now I'm 35. Where I grew up, we had dirt bikes and I would snowboard. And people skied, but we just did not. Some people, I think, had sleds, but they took them to the northern part of the state or out of state. My family did not have sleds, but I did grow up riding dirt bikes. and go-karts and all of that stuff. And then yeah, bought my first brand new sled, got a loan for it. First loan I ever had, wasn't for a house, wasn't for a car, it was for a snowmobile. And some people would say that's stupid. I'm really glad I did it like that, because it's led me down the path that I'm on now, and I've been really happy with how life's turned out. So right now we're just installing some of this heat tape as we get ready to install the can. The heat tape's just going to protect the plastic over here, since the aftermarket can doesn't have any of the heat shielding like the stock can does. But that's how they save the weight. What about the rest of you guys? When did you guys start sledding? What kind of sleds do you have? Where do you ride your sleds at? What kind of sleds do you want? What are your favorite sleds? What's the fastest sled you've ever ridden? What's the fastest sled you've ever seen? And the spring out here, I host a race. It's called the Feeder 500. I've got classes for everything from really old sleds to really new sleds. So that's why I have that 440 IQR over there. Runs on 110 only, or you will blow it up because it's got a pretty high compression ratio from the factory. And as you guys know, high compression ratios mean more chance for detonation, and the only way to help prevent detonation is a fuel that resists it. And the way they measure fuel's resistance to detonation is through the octane number. And that's why you see stuff with turbos and high compression heads require a higher octane rating, because those machines struggle with detonation. And this heat tape doesn't need to be perfect, you know, you're just getting it in there. I've actually never had any problems with these cans in melting anything. I do always apply the heat tape though. I don't know what would happen if you didn't apply the heat tape. And that's not really something I've been willing to try to find out. I'm sure there's guys out there that do though. And whether or not they have problems, I don't know. All right, got another question. Do you recommend going to clinics, or is it a waste of money? Somebody say seat time is the best lesson. While I've not personally ever been to a snowmobile clinic, I used to play ice hockey growing up, and I don't think that there's any replacement for good coaching. I agree that seat time is important, but I've seen people go to snowmobile clinics and come back, and what they learn in 1 week would normally take maybe a year or two to learn. I think you gain a lot of confidence when you go to the clinics, and you get a lot of good input on proper technique, where if you're learning from a friend or something like that, or trying to teach yourself, they don't always have the best or the right technique. Having said that, there are the schooled videos out there which are really good. The schooled DVDs, they're old. They're from Brett Rasmussen and Chris Brandt, when Chris Brandt and Brett were both on Arctic Cat. But those videos are really good. Those actually were some of the first videos that taught me how to ride wrong foot forward when I started riding. But if you've got the money, man, I think clinics are great, and they'll teach you stuff about your sled, like setup and all sorts of things. You know, if I went to a clinic right now, I think I'd want to go to Caleb Keskerke's clinic. He just seems extremely knowledgeable on the sleds. You can tell he's a smart guy, and he's very focused. And I think he probably has a really good way of communicating like how to do things, rather than just like sit here and watch me do it and try. So yeah, I think clinics are really, really cool, and I would love to go to Caleb's for sure. Clinics can offer more value than just riding skills. You can also learn new riding areas and connect with other riders. Very true, very true. Fat Tones, I agree with you on all of that. How many days of riding per week per year? I ride 2 to 3 days a week, usually Saturday and Sunday. And if I can sneak in an after work ride at night with my buddy, I will go do that. I ride from usually my season starts in November, hopefully, if it's a good year. And then I ride November, December, January, February, March, April. On a bad year, our seasons will end in May or the very end of April. On a good year, I've ridden into July. So I usually ride 6 to 8 months out of the year at 2 to 3 days a week. To answer your question there. Let's do a little soft fit here. Yeah, you see here where the can is the can sits up in here like this. So we've got all that heat tape in there now to help where the can gets close to the plastic to help shield that up. So I think our heat tape install is good. I buy that. Okay. Step 2 done. Step 3. Yeah, we got that. On the bracket located on the bottom pipe, remove the rubber stop and place the supplied washer on the rubber stop and then install. That's what I was talking about earlier when I was saying, oh, we're gonna have to get back in there. So we've got 2, they supply them, little washers here. It's gonna help bump the pipe up higher. So I got a little ahead of myself there earlier. And put these back on. So we'll go ahead and take these off. And you know what? I talked about it earlier. Let's do it. Let's go ahead. Red gasket. Honda Bond. We'll go ahead and do it. Show you guys. This is something that guys will do here in case their springs ever break. They don't lose them in the sled. So you can put just a little kiss of RTV right there on the side. You can use probably black. I just have the ultra gray high torque right now. I guess I'm out of the black. It looks like. But yeah, slap this on there. And I think, you know, I might have read once that this helps like with like vibration on the springs and stuff. I don't know, guys. You know, I wish I grew up with Grandpa was like some West Coast oval track racer, you know, from Wisconsin. He's worked with like the Polaris factory race team for like, you know, like 2 decades through like the 70s and 80s or 80s and 90s. You know, that would just be so cool to have all of that family knowledge, you know. Unfortunately, that doesn't exist out here where I live. So if that is where you live, you're lucky. And if you've got that grandpa, damn, you real lucky, boy. Or girl. But yeah, you real lucky. So we'll start setting these springs up. Oh boy. Should have done this earlier. It's fine. We'll get to it now. Does anyone in here have that grandpa that's just got all that good old school knowledge, man? A grandpa who maybe used to race oval track out there in Wisconsin in Eagle River, or a grandpa who used to do like some snowcross, or a grandpa who used to do like the cross country racing that used to exist in the Midwest. So much good racing over the years. We gotta find somewhere better for these. Because nobody in my family... Yo, what's up, Keegan? Keegan's the man. He runs a company that does marketing for a variety of companies. I just know his work that he does in motorsports. Really cool guy, really big heart, super nice guy. Can't say enough things about him. He actually was pivotal. Wow, I can't talk. He was one of the main guys behind one of my early on sponsors when I first started riding. Cheetah Factory Racing was my first ever sponsor, and then I picked up 509 and GGB exhaust, and Keegan was part of the GGB, helping them out through his company that he owns. And Keegan's just super rad guy, super nice. Can't say enough nice things about him. So it's a pleasure to see you in here, dude. I hope you're doing well. I really hope one day we get to ride together. That would be super cool. But yeah, has anyone got that old family member who did a bunch of racing and just has passed on all that old school knowledge to you? I'm super jealous. There's nothing cooler than generations of snowmobilers, especially when the family has taken it really seriously and done some like racing, or done some racing and really gotten in on to the nerdy and the tech side of it. You know, it's cool just like going out and weekend warrior riding with the family. That's cool. I'm not saying, you know, there's nothing against that, but the guys who went out and raced and really dedicated life, money, time to the sport is really inspiring. And I'd love to be connected with more of those people like that. There's not a lot of folks out here where I live that are like that. It's one of the part that sucks about living this far away from the scene. It seems like the Midwest, the Rocky Mountains, Canada has a pretty good scene too, but then here on the the true West Coast, we get a little left out sometimes. And we've got a bone to pick with you guys who say, oh, I'm going out west, and then you go to the Rockies. That's middle of the country. Out west is Pacific Ocean. Just giving you all a hard time. I know to you it is out west. And the Rockies are sick. Big fan of the Rockies. I've been riding out there more and more, and the snow is so good. It's such good snow. All right, so right now we're trying to get this little, and I would pull out the pipe, but I've already reattached it onto the EGT sensor over there. So there's this little rubber pipe. There's this little rubber guy right here. I forget what they call it. Anyways, you take these two washers, you put them on here, and what it's going to do is going to bump the pipe up a little bit higher, which is what SLP wants for their install here on their can. And it goes back down here underneath. Make sure you get it all the way up in to where the plastic, or to where the rubber connects back in here. Otherwise, it could rattle and fall out. So I've got it all the way up in there. And then we'll put it back on its little rubber grommet. Let's see here. All my family is allergic to snow. Work outside 70% of the year and hate summer in the heat. Snowing in Washington? Is that what you're saying? Or Wasatch? Oh, the Wasatch right now. Wasatch, that's Utah, right? Near Salt Lake? I've ridden out there a few. I rode out there some with the Boondocker movie guys. And then last year I was out there on the way to Colorado. It was really sick. But yeah, dude, I agree. Right here, the sign says it. Summer sucks. I hate the heat. Summer is terrible. That's why I try to ride my sled for 8 months out of the year, and then the last 8, 9, 10, 11, 4 months out of the year, you just suffer, try to make some money so you can go snowmobile some more. All right, while that stuff's drying over there, we're gonna come over here and check my little list. Everyone in here right now, tell me where you guys are from. Tell me what kind of sleds you guys ride, what kind of sleds you're into. I've got all sorts of sleds. Today we're working on this 9R, going over everything I do when I get a new machine to build it. There's a lot of little free things we do. There's some things that are paid for we do. Earlier we drilled some holes in the back of the belly pan back here to help encourage some cool air to come through to help prevent some heat soaking. We talked about some clutching earlier. Over here though, I've got a 25 boost that I'm gonna be building tomorrow. Not sure if we'll be live during that or not, but if you've got questions about the boost, or if you guys wanna know the difference between the boost and the 9R, why I've got both, let me know. We also got a 440 IQR, Polaris race sled from back in the day. Runs on 110 only, tells you right there. I've also got my Yamaha Bravo, which we've converted into like a mountain pit sled. So it's got a track extension, it's got a slash and shortened tunnel, bigger lug track on it, more skid out of a 90s Polaris, so it's got a lot more travel. Ultimate pit sled. Outside we've got a 2000 RMK 800 that's just got everything that could have been done from it from SLP back in the day. Eye compression head, clutching. I even have a set of twin pipes for that old 800 sitting outside. But today we're working on the 9R and getting it ready because we're gonna be riding it really soon. Rode 10 months out of the year here in the Caribou Mountains in BC. Yeah, man. I can only usually squeeze in 8 months. I think 1 year, maybe I did 9. That was my best ever. 10 months out of the year, super badass, man. Super badass. That's really cool. You guys get to do that. BC is a really rad place. I've snowboarded up there, but I've never taken my sled up there. I would really like to get my sled up there, both to Revelstoke looks really cool, and then so does just BC also in general. Hopefully can make that happen. It's so hard though for me to drive to BC. I think it's 16 hours of driving. So, you know, you could do it in a day. You'll be smoked. And then, so minimum it's a 2-day drive, but realistically it's, you know, maybe 3, maybe even a 4-day drive. And then to ride for a few days and come home, you know, I'm gonna miss a week of work for sure. And one of these days I'll make it happen, man. One of these days. No excuses, right? Yeah, Keegan, I know. It's important though when you've got the kids that you've got to give the kids, you got to give the kids the attention, you know, like my parents gave me good attention and they were involved in my life, and being involved in your children's life is way more important than any personal, I think, aspirations for fun that you might have. Don't get me wrong, you got to find a balance. You've got to have some fun yourself too, but you can't abandon your kids to just go ride your sled all the time. That would not be a good parent. And I'm sure once your kids are old enough that you'll have some sort of sleds or little electric dirt bikes or something cool to be getting out on there with them and enjoying power sports. I know some of my favorite memories with my dad was riding dirt bikes with him when I was a teenager, and, you know, riding homemade go-karts that my grandpa had made out of lawnmowers with my cousins in Washington State. Those are very fond memories for me. But when you're a parent, being involved in your kid's life is the best thing you can do. It makes you a good parent, it makes you a good human, and I commend you for that. Do you run 91 in your boost? How about Polaris disc encouraging non-ethanol now? Good questions. So I run 91 non-ethanol. I'm not worried about the whole whatever, the fuel tank catching on fire and the electrostatic discharge. Could care less about that. You know, I get it. They've got to do what they got to do to try to keep themselves legal, but you know, I think there's been something like 10 or 12 sleds, whatever, that have burnt down from it, and that's like less than 1% of 1% of what they sold, so I'm not worried about it. Also, the 91 non-ethanol mode that you get to put your sled into, it's good for an extra 10 horsepower. Snowtech magazine came out with a great article right over here, Polaris E10 mode versus the premium mode. They talked about over here on the boost. Let me get you a direct quote. The ethanol 10 mode from Polaris Boost cranks out 171 to 173 horsepower, and when on premium 91 octane no ethanol fuel map, the power on the boost package jumps up to 180 to 182, so about a 9 horsepower increase. I've been running the non-ethanol fuel in my sleds and running the non-ethanol mat for years. You can feel the 9 horsepower difference. It's not like, it's only 9 horsepower, and I know people think it's a lot, but it's not that much, but it is noticeable, and it does make the RPMs more consistent. Like on an NA sled, I can't run anything but the 91 non-ethanol map. Otherwise, I never get the RPM that I'm going for. So yeah, I run the 91 non-ethanol. I actually go and get it from a gas station, and I fill up this 50-gallon drum over here, and then I use a device from drumpreserve.com, which you see back here. It keeps the volatility of the gasoline at 100%. Using a blanket of nitrogen that goes on top. It keeps all moisture and dust out, and you don't lose the volatility of the gasoline. So I can put gas in here, and a year later, if I needed to, take it out, and it's going to be as good as the day it came out of the pump. That is some real nerdy shit. That's some like real race stuff. Your average guy isn't gonna go that far down the rabbit hole. Unfortunately, I have, and this is where I've ended up. From Alberta, ride in Fernley, Valmont, and Revelstoke, BC, mostly with my wife. Hey, that's really cool that your wife rides and you guys ride together, man. Having a partner that rides can really make snowmobiling or dirt biking or really whatever you're into. If you and your partner share the same interests in the outdoors or whatever it is, I think it makes life so much more enjoyable than if you've got a partner who doesn't understand why you enjoy doing what you do. You have a 23 9R 165, and she has a 24 Pro 850 165. Have been doing 4 to 6 trips a year since 2019. That's so badass, dude. That is badass that you guys get to do that. I think that it's cool. I think you guys have picked the right sleds, for that. The Pro's a little more planted for her, so it's not gonna wheelie as much. And also what I'm doing with my hand underneath here, guys, is I'm ripping out the foam that's on this side of the door here. So while we're letting the RTV dry on those springs before we continue on with the can setup, I am over here ripping the foam out. The foam holds a lot of water, and we're going to talk about that later and how much weight that adds onto your sled when you're riding it in powder. But yeah, back to what I was saying. I think you guys have picked really good sleds. You got the Chaos. It's fun. It's a little more wheelie, but you got in a 165, so it's chilled out, and the 9R is a great option, the best option for NA. And then you got your wife on the Pro 850 on a 24 as well. So you're both on Matrix sleds. You guys are crushing it. You guys are crushing it. That's so cool. Thoughts on lug size 275, 3, and 325. I never rode the 3 much, so I will talk about the 275 and the 325. First, let's talk about riding those two tracks in deeper powder. My girlfriend had, or has at the time, had a 325 track, and I had the 275, and I got the chance one day to take out her sled and my sled, where we were both out riding, and I was swapping between the two. And where I felt the difference between the two tracks is when you're doing a climb, as you're climbing up the 275, I could feel it starting to like slow down, and eventually I had to turn out. Where with the 325, where the 275 would start to slow down, the 325, it just kept pulling and kept going, and it didn't have that slow down sensation like the 275 did. If I could have snow checked these two sleds, I would have put the 325 on the boost, because the boost is only going to get ridden in that deep snow, and I want that extra climbing ability. And the 275 I'd put here on the 9R, because I ride this sled in not as deep a snow, so the big lug isn't as important. I think the 275, the lug doesn't fold over as easy in springtime snow, so it's probably the better option. That 325 will fold, and then it's not gonna perform like it should in a more set up snowpack. So 325 is great for powder. 275 is great all around. You just have to be honest with yourself about when you're gonna ride the sled. If you ride your sled less than 10 or 15 times a year and you only ride it in really deep snow, I think the 325 is the way to go. If you're like me and you ride for 8 months out of the year, the 275 is probably a better way to go, because that early season, that late season, you're not going to be struggling with the bigger lug. And if you have the option to have both, I think that's really the way to go. It's pretty easy to swap the Polaris tracks. Polaris makes their sleds like, you know, race ready and easy to work on. So if you've got the ability to swap the tracks, get them both. I know that the 325, I don't think you can fit it in like maybe the 22 or something. I know sometimes they don't fit. You gotta figure all that out. I've only read about it, but yeah, we're still working on getting all this foam out of here, because this foam adds a ton of weight, and this dark foam it's hard to get out. It's not as easy to get out as the that white foam that we took out of the belly pan earlier. Let's see here. Dimitri, what up, dude? I prefer the 275 over the 325 on the Boost. I find the 275 is stiffer and more durable, and I've heard a lot of people destroy the 325 in the season. Interesting. Snow West magazine said pretty much the opposite, that they think the 325 is more durable than the 275. I think that that's